If you like those body-swapping comedies of years gone by, perhaps you'll be into the exchange that appears to be going on between the White Sox and Twins, with a new team headed toward the basement of the AL Central. It's a slippery slope to the bottom, so you best get locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team. It's you over there every day. Don't forget, hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who never lived in his mother's basement, mostly because we always had an apartment. Figuratively, though, I'm still there. I'm also a BBWA member and a Hall of Fame voter. Put that in your mom's basement. Across from me in the Great Plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warne, who makes it seem like he's in a basement when he podcasts, but he's actually upstairs, I think. I can't get my head around the whole thing. Brandon was a Twins fan. Well, you're upstairs from a basement. Yeah. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can find Brandon's written work at the Access Twins newsletter, and you can also find mine at Pitcher List and maybe other things. Who knows? On this podcast, if you haven't noticed, and judging by the attendance at Target Field lately, you haven't, the White Sox have already locked up the season series against the Twins after losing 12 of 13 games they played against the TCs in 2024 when those Sox were all-time bad. Brandon and I will look closer at the rosters and prospective futures, or maybe not, to see if this turnaround is a sign of bigger things to come, as in a switcheroo with the White Sox ascending from last place in the Central and the Twins dropping with a thud to the bottom. That's my best thud. We'll also try and name all the body swap comedies in history, or maybe not. Brandon will name fewer, I predict, than I do. But first, this episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA, asterisk. Visit 5, the number 5, HEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase is necessary. You can't go to the Masters. They won't let you in. The contest ends October 31st, 2025, AD/CE. The White Sox and Twins season series ends tonight, and it can't be soon enough for the descendants of the Piranhas. The White Sox, after losing 12 of 13 against the Twins a year ago, have already won the season series and can't do worse than 7-6. Zebby Matthews got him, did pretty well last night, but the White Sox have been turning things around a little bit in more ways than just against the Twins in the season series. Since June 5th, you might see the graphic there if you're watching, the Twins are 28-50. Since June 5th, 28-50. The White Sox are only 33-45. So it's not like a huge amount better, but remember where the White Sox are coming from.
5 games.
5 games, you can make that up in a week, but the Sox last year, they set the record, the American League record for fewest victories or most losses or both. I don't know. And it just seemed like one of those things where, well, it might be a decade until the White Sox turn things around. Well, they're not exactly. They had a bad August, and September has been better. But the way the Twins are structured, and we'll see what happens this season, this offseason. Dan Hayes with The Athletic was making some noise about $100 million payroll, and that's less than what they have now for next year. We'll see who owns the team, what the Pohlads want to do, what the new people want to do, if there are new people. They say they're going to hold on to the team until the labor agreement is done. I don't believe anything. I don't believe any one way or another. So, long story short, Brandon, are the Twins going to finish last next year?
Well, it's a spirited debate on Twitter, X, whatever. It's a spirited debate between two of the lesser respectable members of each Twitter faction. But it is interesting because there is a lot of thought that the White Sox, that they've turned the corner. They've graduated some prospects, and that's why their farm system doesn't look as good. And I think there's some give and take in every respect. I made the reference that they kind of look like if you took away, I'll say it more nicely here, but if you took the Blue Jays from about 8 or 10 years ago and then just shoot away the pitching staff, the starters, you might have what the White Sox have right now. I don't know that the White Sox have a Vladimir Guerrero Jr., but they may have a Bo Bichette. They may have, well, they probably have more than Kevin Biggio, but they did have that wave of young, entertaining players coming up. I think the White Sox are making progress, but I also think, too, people, namely these White Sox fans, are overreacting to a 4-game winning streak and just better run of play compared to the Twins, who played like absolute cheeks and then have completely unplugged it without plugging it back in to see if it still works. So I'm not as out on the Twins next year as a lot of people are, but I think there's also some big caveats to make, and I'll get to those in a second. I don't know, though, if you happen to catch in the 9th inning that I had a stat that Corey Provis gave me some love for. Did you? I'm sure you've seen the stat, even if you don't know where it came from.
Tell me about it. I didn't see it.
The White Sox had lost blank consecutive games.
Oh, you were that guy.
After 8 innings. Do you know what that number was? It's an obscene number.
I believe, is it 208?
205. Yep.
Oh.
205. And
now you're supposed to lose. This is another thing that people think, well, it's only the Twins. Most teams are going to lose after they're down 8 in the 8th inning. Even the best teams typically lose. But 205 is a lot. That's a long time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it means something.
It's like now that they've won, the Rockies stand alone, I think, is the only team that hasn't won this season. And they're like 103, which is just astonishing.
The Rockies do stand alone, but they stand with a full ballpark somehow. I don't know.
Yeah,
how they do it,
that was that game that they beat the Twins in the series after the All-Star game. They had I don't know if it was a walk. I don't think it was a walk-off. I think it was just a win. But the celebration, I was like, Twins fans wouldn't celebrate like this if they were 60-25, let alone 25-60. Like, it made me feel like the Greg Masterson theory of like, this might not be a great baseball town, and it just might not. So
time to expunge the team, like
no,
Senior wanted to.
I think that the fan base, and like, I don't want to punch down on certain people, but they don't have an adequate appreciation for baseball and how fleeting winning is and how fleeting a lot of things are. Like, yeah, it stinks that they didn't win a playoff game for almost 20 years, but they had some pretty good clubs and people just did not enjoy them commensurate to how hard it is to be a good baseball team. The Twins, for some reason, their fan base has a Yankees mentality, like, get back to me when it means something in the playoffs. And it's like, okay, well, if someone told you that day when Duran got the grounder to Solano that was the best it was going to get, then would you go back and retroactively celebrate a little bit more? I think I would, right? Does that stand to reason?
Right. Sometimes, we were going to get into body swapping comedies, but now you're doing time travel. So it's like, I'm not sure exactly how to get my brain around that. But yeah, I think my perspective has changed so much in my life since I became a semi-employed writer that, I don't get into, I don't take it so hard when the baseball team loses. And then, in fact, I don't remember ever necessarily being one of those people unless it was like a playoff game. Thinking about the 1983 ALCS, I kind of took that hard with the White Sox.
The people who haven't recalibrated for the first half and the second half for this Twins team they're hysterical. Like,
it is kind of funny. I think they literally are hysterical. You're right.
Like, why didn't you send Cole Sands out for a third inning because he only threw 20 pitches? I'm like, what?
No, nobody does that.
No, like 2 innings. And I said this on the postcast last night. I was filling in for Luke, and I was like, I kind of like 2 innings from a reliever. You only have that guy down the next day or whatever, or maybe they still can go. But it narrows down the number of guys you have down, theoretically. It narrows down the number of guys you need to be on their A game that day, theoretically. And if you pitch 2 innings, the chances that you face 10 batters, if you pitch 2 good innings, not particularly high. You're only seeing guys for one time. If you can't go one trip through the order, I don't know. It's kind of like the times through the order penalty, but as a reliever, it gets kind of tamped down. So I think 2 inning stints by relievers is not a bad thing to do. And I don't know if Rocco's going to be in charge next year and if he'll take that to heart. A lot of it has to do with how your bullpen's built. But 3 innings from Cole Sands, I pity the fool.
Yeah, this ain't 1994. I mean, that stuff's out the window. It is an interesting question, though. Like, what is it? What's so difficult physically or mentally on the relief pitcher about doing an up and down where you get 3 outs and you sit in the dugout for whatever and you go back out? Like, is it the max effort? You can't do it for that many pitches, or you get cold.
Is there a type of reliever? Like, do some relievers respond better? And is it a personal preference? Do the relievers know? Like, there's a lot of things that you'd have to find out trial and error, which why not
do they really know? This seems like a thing that they're like, I know they have a lot of data on stuff, but the 2 inning reliever thing seems like a guess. It seems like this seems like that it would only work better with 1 inning.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worth following up. Perhaps if a certain team from the Twin Cities comes to Kansas City, maybe I'll start asking questions. I don't know.
Ooh, I like
asking
that idea.
Tough questions. Let's take our first break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more about the Minnesota Twins baseball team. I didn't know if you knew that.
But before we do that, we got to show some love to 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up. Turn up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. This grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of a golf course favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or bogeys or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you are out on the course or just need a little extra push to power through your day, I know I'm going to need it because I'll be mowing the lawn here pretty soon. 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. And again, that is quite pertinent as I look at my lawn, which is very, very green and very, very tall. When I think about days on the golf course, I'm not thinking about the greatest shots I've made, although, maybe a putt here or there, or even on the mini golf course, which is a whole lot of fun too. But I'm thinking about good times with good friends, and with 5 Hour Energy, it's good times, good friends, good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5 Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down that pesky bev cart. Now, you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament, asterisk, not the Masters, in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit the number 5 HEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase is necessary. Again, that excludes the Masters tournament and ends October 31st, 2025.
Locked On Twins has returned. Second segment Thursday, September 4, 2025. We're trying to figure out, with the White Sox having won the season series against the Twins and being not much, but 5 games better than them in the standings overall since
Sacramento, right? That's
yes, since the last game. Thank you. That's exactly right. Of the A series, it seems like, it would be like everything started to go bad at that point.
Well, it's like the night Minnesota. There was an old bit where Paul Allen, a radio guy, they would do music and they would dub in little bits and stuff. And it was the night Chicago died after the Twins beat the White Sox bad. Oh. Sacramento was the night where Minnesota died. I mean, the data is stark. I found some stuff for Pablo coming back on Saturday, and like the numbers before and after he went down. And again, Pablo plays a role in that, but the season was over after Sacramento, and it's truly sad to say that now, but it was true.
Yeah, part of me, so I don't know if it's the Luddite in me or whatever, but part of me is like, well, if you guys let a bad ballpark and a bad experience in one series bring you down so far, and beyond the physical injuries that happened and all that stuff, then you were not mentally strong in the first place. I don't know. Is that really unfair to say? Is that
it does smack a little bit of like victim blaming, like when you grow up in a family and you fall down and your parents get mad at you for falling down rather than consoling you. Like I grew up in a family where it's like, what did you do to prevent this thing that happened to you? And sometimes you just need people to understand, hey, sometimes bad things happen and we just move forward. So I think it's tricky because I don't want to be a tough love, like too tough a love, but at the same time, you lose your best starter, things are going to go sideways. The Twins just never had it this year. And that's shocking for a team that won 13 straight games. Like, to say that they never really had it this year, I feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, but also 100% still accurate.
Speaking of both sides of your mouth or someone's mouth, the White Sox, we want to look at like why the White Sox are better and is it sustainable? I know this isn't Locked On White Sox, thank God, but in the second half since the All-Star game, the White Sox are sixth in runs scored in baseball. They are calculating. I know I should have written this, but I should have written this down.
Their offense has been much better.
The offense has been much better. They're sixth in runs scored, and they're something like that in. It's not coming up. Maybe my internet is bad, but something like that in home runs and isolated power, and it's come up. They're fifth in home runs and isolated power. They're not walking, so that makes me wonder if they're. It's sort of like Colson Montgomery is a microcosm or a individual or personifies how the White Sox. He's just hitting home runs and he's not walking ever. And let's see, eighth in isolated power. So there's something to it. And they're pretty good in WAR for pitching, but I don't know.
I don't see it with the pitching.
They're decent. Stuff. They're decent at pitching. They're decent. But the hitting has been why for sometimes they've won some games and they were like 11-19 or something in August. So it hasn't been like they've been rolling, but they're better. They're better than they were.
The barbs that I kind of shared back and forth with one guy was like the Twins farm system isn't as good as the White Sox because the White Sox graduated a bunch of guys. And I was like, okay, well, so did the Twins, Brooks Lee, David Festa, Luke Keeschel, Zebby, and he kind of rattled off a few guys. And I was like, okay, well, you can have that if you concede that the White Sox don't have a Pablo Lopez, a Joe Ryan, or a Byron Buxton. And so, like, on those three, I rest my hope that this is a better team than the White Sox next year. If you trade, I mean, Buxton's not going anywhere, but if you trade those two pitchers, which, again, I would never, ever endorse. I don't care if you get someone's top four prospects. I just don't think it makes sense to do. I think there's no reason.
And it would, you don't want to lead a team. You don't want to make transactions like this. You don't want to manage like this. It would, if they trade Joe Ryan, if they trade one of them, it would kill people.
Yep.
I mean, you think 11,000 people at Target Field is
you might
bad.
not get those people back either. Like, these people are at wit's end. I always say it's about the butts in the seats, not the faces. Because if the pull ads can pull any random 30,000 people off the street, they don't care if you're a loyal fan or a brand new fan. You got to start to rethink that when you've literally beaten down people this much. You cannot afford that level of a PR misstep.
The Sox, I mean, I don't know. I can't identify yet if there's a Pablo Lopez or a Joe Ryan. They have some guys who are like good Bailey Ober-esque kind of pitchers in the rotation. Shane Smith's is bouncing back after a good start and a bad middle after
he's their Zebby, basically, right? Like,
yeah, kind of. He's also a Rule 5. It's a crazy kind of season he's having.
Yep.
And their pitching prospects that they drafted recently in the minors are iffy right now. Hagen Smith and the other guy. They keep drafting left-handed starting pitchers, and maybe they're developing, maybe they're not. Luis Robert is kind of the Buxton type.
One of them
is who?
Noah Schultz, one of them?
Yeah, Noah Schultz, yeah. He's the one that's doing better than Hagen Smith.
Yeah.
who they drafted out of Arkansas, and they could have picked like Connor Griffin or something. But
well, right now, Luis Robert Jr. is like, we have Byron Buxton at home.
Yes, kind of, but they have to. There's still some debate whether they're going to pick up his $20 million option, which I think is a no-brainer at this point because he's had a really good second half. He's hurt. I mean, that's kind of that's not to put too fine a point on the comparison, but he's got a hamstring and he's out for the rest of the season, but probably. Yeah. But he's had a really good second half. The manager, I question some of Max Venable Jr.'s, Will Venable's moves, but as far as getting the clubhouse in the right frame of mind, he's much better than previous guys, and that's a reason the White Sox are in a better place mentally. They're in a better place than they used to be. Mm-hmm. Colson looks like, for some of his flaws, Montgomery. Byron Buxton was singing his praises the other day, said he's real professional, gives good at bats.
Sounded to me like
him is good.
Sounded to me like you were describing Tim Anderson. That doesn't walk much, has some good pop. I mean,
a little. There's the bat is similar. Yeah. Maybe there's the window is shorter with Colson, but he's got a pretty swing, but he does not
keep him away very much. Jose Ramirez.
Yes. Yeah. He's gonna get punchy. You're gonna punchy, Mick. You're gonna have to cut me. Yeah. So all right, let's take our second break and we'll talk a little bit more about how the Twins are stacking up for next year and trying to get out of last place or stay out of not get.
Well, if you're in first place or if you're wanting to go to a ball game in the first place or the last place, Game Time wants to help you out. If you're looking to go to a ball game with your friends or family, or it's game day and you just want to head on down to the yard, that's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the added stress. And with the money that you save on tickets, you can redistribute that towards food, merchandise, or even bringing a bigger crowd with you. Bring that entourage to the ball game. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. And they've got some incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. One season recently, I went on Game Time and found Champions Club tickets for my wife and me and our daughter. We did not have our son yet at that point. And Game Time had the best price, and we got to enjoy basically a VIP experience. And it was a year I was still covering the team, so I was like peeking into the dugout and winking at guys, and they were recognizing me. It was actually a really, really fun day at the ballpark, and Game Time made it possible. And again, those seat views, I tell you, I love knowing what I'm going to see, not only at the ballpark, but if I'm going to a concert, a comedy show, a football game, I know exactly what my view is going to look like from my seat before I even click purchase. And I also do that all-in pricing where I click that button and I know what's coming out of my account the second they take it. That's taking the guesswork out of buying tickets, and that's what Game Time wants to do. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Locked on Twins. We are in the home stretch of this body swap comedy episode where the White Sox are no longer in last place, and maybe the Twins are in last place. And
maybe you saw that. We're doing body
26. Oh, you're so clever.
Magic.
You're very clever.
At times.
You're good at this thing. Hey, by the way, we want to let you know that make sure you are subscribed to Locked On Twins, because that way you don't miss any of the great Twins content we've got for you. That includes the Twins postcast with Luke Inman live after the final out of every game. So, like after the White Sox lost the Twins lost 12-3 to the White Sox, you went online and did the Twins postcast with Luke Inman, right? Right?
I did it yesterday. I did it last night. It was not fun. It was good, but it wasn't.
It was not fun.
It was good, but it wasn't fun. You know what I mean? Like, losing's not fun. And I've even become desensitized to it because I know everything has a purpose. If you're playing baseball the right way, everything's got a reason. Everything's got that. But I didn't let it tear me up like I would have if it was, June 4th as opposed to, or June 3rd as opposed to September 3rd. It's a little bit different ball game.
A little bit. So we're trying to figure out if the Twins, who have dropped 7 of 12 to the White Sox this year after winning 12 out of 13 last year, season series finale tonight at Target. Even if they win, the White Sox have the thing clinched.
I like to call it the Taj Mahal. I don't think it's going to catch on.
Well, it's pretty good.
But well, shoot. Now, what was I going to say?
I was thinking about what. Put up a finger when you remember. You know how people are going to. I don't know where the Rockies are in the attendance, but whenever I see a game, it's like there's always 40,000 people there, and the team is terrible anyway. The Twins, they don't. I mean, Target Field is really nice.
Yeah,
it's one of the nicer ballparks in the league, and people aren't going just to experience Target Field. Maybe the Denver setting, the Rocky Mountains, is. I don't want to bag on Minnesota though, because it's the land of 10,000 lakes. It's a nice place to be. But people aren't going to go if it's not like the Rockies, and maybe that's a good thing. I actually like that people are voting with their feet and staying away. I hope you watch the podcast or listen to it, but don't give the Twins your money if you don't think they deserve it, or it's. I get that. I agree with it. What did you have?
By the way, my observation was it's a little weird that they're not playing a day game today, isn't it?
Sometimes they do. Yeah, it's it depends. The Royals and Twins, or the Royals and Angels are playing today in Kansas City. The finale of that series also at night. So I don't know if that's because people they thought, well, maybe Ohtani will still be there, so we want to maximize the gate. And Mike Trout, maybe he'll play. Mike Trout didn't play earlier in the series because he has a skin infection. That's how things are going for the Angels.
Oh, they're still the AL Rockies in my mind's eye. I know they've had a little more success, but they're just a team that cannot get out of their own way.
It is funny how, they didn't have the best of Trout this year, and Ohtani's been gone now for a season plus, and their record is better than it was last year. I just find that things that don't really make sense.
Well, there's data that the Twins had a better record than it was either Buxton or Correa over an extended period of time, and you're like, okay, well, that doesn't make that much sense. Then Aaron Gleeman pointed out that Correa's hitting like 280 with the Astros with like a 747 OPS, which, tell you what, all the leadership in the world, if you had a good defensive third baseman with a 747 OPS, that's probably not a $35 million a year player.
No, and maybe he's turned it up a little bit, but he had gone through. He started out so hot, right?
He's been bad.
Yeah, he's had long stretches of bad since then too.
He was like 2 for 23 or something in the last week when I checked.
It is sort of bizarre how the people that the Twins traded away, except for Duran and Coulomb for 2 games.
Yeah. Should I run down those
terrible?
Numbers? I'd like to run down those numbers because I have them handy.
It doesn't really have anything to do with the topic, but
no. But I think it's interesting and I think it's pertinent. Varland 6.91 ERA, 1.67 WHIP, 9.54 OPS against. Jack 7.20 ERA, 1.80 WHIP, 9.33 OPS against. Coulomb 7.56 ERA, 1.68 WHIP, 9.41 OPS. Brock Stewart is hurt. He was not very good in his 3 2/3 innings. And Chris Paddock, who has been sent to the bullpen, banished to never return. 6.89 ERA, 1.40 WHIP, 9.46 OPS allowed. Then you got Joan Duran, who has been fabulous. So, and then as a friend Austin pointed out, Ty France is having a nice little run with the Blue Jays. I almost said the Mariners. And then Harrison Bader has been pretty dang good with the Phillies as well. So it's good
that Bader and Duran have been good, and I don't have to listen to the Philly people complain. And I love the Philly people, but I don't want to hear them complain about that. So I'm glad that they're doing well. And So it's just not something else, because there's a lot of complaining going on in Philly this year for a team that's winning games. And maybe there's reason to, but it's tune that out. But so yeah, Akulo might be hurt. Actually, he hasn't pitched in a week.
Yeah, you kind of cautioned against that. That was kind of your like overarching theme with him, was like, hey, don't lean on him too heavily, otherwise you're gonna have to fall back on Cody Funderburk. By the way, our assistant thing that transcribes our interviews called him Cody Funderbird or Thunderbird. And I was like, I better go fix that. But it made me laugh.
Yeah, AI is good for some unintentional humor, and that's about all. But
hey, I think the Twins White Sox thing, just to bring it full circle, hinges on if they trade any of their pitching. They're not trading Byron Buxton. If they trade one or both of those guys, it's basically back to square one, which is wholly unfair for Byron Buxton, and I hope they don't do it.
Right. It's unfair for him. It's unfair for the team. It's unfair for the fans. It's unfair for us. I mean, certainly if they trade both those pitchers, they're going to finish last. It might even happen if they trade one.
Almost certainly.
So anyway, let's wrap her up. It's another big moment on Locked On. College football fans, Locked On Fire TV coming together to present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake tolls for thee, of Locked On Big 12, leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former college star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. A college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday, which is today, of the season, only on Fire TV. So, for Brandon Warne, this is Dave Brown, wishing you all a very pleasant good evening, saying we will Alexei Casilla very soon, if not tomorrow night. Yeah.
Yeah.